So, boys, today we're going to talk about cold approach and the fertility crisis. It's interesting. This has been in the news quite a bit recently. It's actually hit mainstream news. I've probably been I've been observing this for about 5 years, the fertility crisis, and I've been ranting and raving about it at times to people, saying, "Do you know what? Do you guys actually know what this means for the future?" When you have a population that is where you've got about 1.5, 1.3, 1.2 women, children being born per women, do you actually know where this leads with modern medicine and an aging population? It leads to serious problems down the road. And there are all sorts of knock-on effects through society as well. It's There are many problems linked to this, the declining birth rate. So I'm connecting as someone who has an obsession with, well, it's not even an obsession. I discovered cold approach daytime pickup a few years ago, and after all my experiences with nighttime pickup dating relationships, um, I kind of took to it like a duck to water. Although I mean it was still difficult actually. No, it was still difficult, but I took to it probably more easily than most people would. And on this channel, I discuss all things dating and relationship related. So I'm going to connect these two disparate things, the population crisis and daytime cold approach. But when you think about it, they're really not that distant, are they? They're both of them are related to men and women interacting, of course. So that's what we're going to discuss right now. So first of all, I'm going to outline the issue, the problem that society is facing. It's a declining birth rate. The ladies are not having enough children to replace us. Yeah, so if that happens at a species-wide level, we go extinct. If that happens at a species-wide level, so it's pretty bad. And there's quite some history to this. If you look at the population chart, let's just say, well, of all of Western Europe, it's all the same, and North America, it's all exactly the same. Look up the population chart of population over the last 300 years, 200 years. The graphs are there. You start off when we're still relatively rural and we're still relatively poor. You start off with 5, 6 children per woman. As we move into cities and we get wealthier and richer, standard of living increases, but probably demands on people increases as well. You see a dip through the 20th century. It's still pretty high though. You go from like 6 to about 3.5. So there's a significant dip. And then World War One, we get a dip. It goes down to about 1.8, and it comes back, bounces straight back up again to the threes. World War Two, again a dip to 1.8, 1.7, something like that, and then it bounces straight back up again. These people were called the so-called boomers because there was a flourishing population after World War Two. But that's just a completely normal effect. It was actually just returning to its normal baseline. So they should have been called something else, the rebounders or something, because it was just rebounding back to its normal level, which was again about 3.1. And then in about 1970, we get a very, very rapid decline. The late 60s, early 70s, we get an incredibly rapid decline in the birth rate, which goes from about 3 point something down to like 1.3, 1.4 within a very short span of time. It's unprecedented. So we go from 3.1, 3.2 down to 1.4, 1.5 within the space of 10 years. The birth rate goes from normal to below World War One and World War Two levels in 10 years during peacetime. During peacetime. How did this happen? Why did this happen? And it's never recovered since then. No European country has got back up to, I think we hovered around 1.9 in the UK. But no one has recovered a healthy, 2.5 birth rate since then. No one has recovered it at all. No country has recovered it in the Western world. So this is a bit of a head scratcher when you're looking on from the outside. What happened in the 70s where the population was just decimated like that? The birth population was just decimated. What happened? Okay, something pretty big must have happened if it dropped lower than it did in World War One and World War Two. And how are we going to get out of it? What have we been doing to try and rectify this situation? As you can see, obviously, um, the population, it hasn't recovered and hasn't rebounded to natural levels. And now in 2025, 50 years after this original fall, now people are starting to talk about it. Now it's becoming fashionable to talk about. And it's connected, as I say, and as I will explain, it's connected to other issues. So what happened? What happened in 1970? Go ahead, look at the charts. I don't think I can share them. No, I'm not going to try and share them now. Get my laptop up. But it's a vertical drop from like 68 to about 75, completely vertical. What happened? Well, some big things happened in society. Specifically, two things happened in society. One is the birth control pill. It's contraception, which allows people to have unprotected sex and the woman doesn't get pregnant. So that was one. That was introduced to the population in the early 60s. And it wasn't taken up immediately, obviously, but it got taken up, by the late 60s, the swinging 60s and early 70s. So that's one. I think in the UK now, of native-born women, it's something absurd. Like, it's literally, I read a stat which said 90% of UK women take the pill, take the hormonal pill, right? Like of childbearing age, they take the pill, 90%. It's extremely high, or it was extremely high in my generation. I think it still is. By the way, that has secondary effects as well. It affects their brain quite a lot as well. It affects their everything, their weight gain, everything. So this has been it's incredible that happened. But anyway, that's one factor which reduced the birth rate. But when you control for that, it still wouldn't have reduced it below replacement, but it would have still substantially reduced it. And the other one is abortion. Yeah, that was introduced. It was legalized in 1963. It was obviously illegal before that. The technology existed, I think, from the early 20th century. The technology existed. It was first used by Lenin in the Soviet Union as a means of population control and sterilization and so on. So it is quite literally a communist invention, the abortion. And since that was legalized in 1963, the UK has aborted 10.5 million children in the last 50 years. 10.5 million. That's 10.5 million Brits that weren't born in the last 50 years. No, and then obviously their children as well, their potential children as well. So it's really no surprise that you have a population crisis when you introduce the pill and abortion literally practically the same year, in the early 60s. It takes a little while for people to even dare to try these things, right? Social acceptability doesn't happen straight away. It takes a little bit of time. And after that, you have a plummeting birth rate because you have all the women of childbearing age. They're all getting on the pill or having abortions. For whatever reasons. I think obviously having a child and getting like pregnancy and so on, it can cause some anxiety in a lot of people, and like young men and young women. And so this is a way out for people. It's a way out for them to get past that anxiety and stress, and a way for them to continue on with whatever life they're doing. Obviously, if you have children, you really have to get your life together. So yeah, this was a disastrous policy from a natalist standpoint. The fact that these two things happened at the same time, it's pretty heinous, to be honest. When you actually think, especially abortion, when you actually think of what that is, the fact that it's legal is mind blowing to me. When you actually think of what it is, you're literally killing a defenseless child in the womb. Nice. So that you can go and hold, so that the guy can not have to pay for shit, and the woman can go on holiday to fucking Ibiza, whatever, carry on doing Class A drugs. Nice. Nice one, guys. So yeah, this is actually what caused the population decline. It's not economics, it's nothing like that. It's those two things. It's abortion and the pill. That's it. You if yeah, you basically, I don't know how you actually reverse it now, to be honest. What's the knock-on effect of that? The knock-on effect is quite serious. The governments aren't stupid. They look at the birth rate and go, holy fuck, we're at 1.4 in the 70s and 80s. Yeah, and then what do? Jay? Jay, we're on a heavy topic today, mate. I thought I'd get this one out of the way because I'm going to alternate between pick up stuff and then, society relationship stuff. But yeah, the governments basically saw, Western governments saw in the 70s and 80s, oh my God, we're miles away from replacement. We're miles away from replacement rates. What the hell are we going to do? You can try things like Hungary has tried to incentivize the birth rates, but it's actually quite difficult to do once you've let the cat out of the bag with the pill and abortion. And we live in a more high-tech society. It's hard to actually stimulate population growth. Orban's had a little bit of success in Hungary, but not very much, to be honest. And so your only remaining solution at that point, if you want to, pay pensions, pay taxes, etc., your only remaining solution is migration at that point. So I've actually not seen anyone make this connection online in any discussion, but it's a fairly obvious connection. If the women aren't having children and haven't been for the last 50 years, something has to give, something has to happen. So you have to bring people in from elsewhere. And then it's not a coincidence that in this time period, since the 70s, all of Western Europe and North America as well has had much higher rates of migration. It's pretty much that simple. It's pretty much that simple. Or you have to accept a shrinking population. So yeah, this is the crude way that governments have really dealt with it. And yeah, so you've got a double whammy. You've got people becoming unhappy about migration, but you've also got people being concerned now of just populations declining. And if anyone is interested, just have a look at the population, the replacement rates across the globe, and every country, apart from Israel, in which abortion is legal, every single country is below replacement rates, substantially below replacement rates. You can't have that process as being legal and expect to have a population which is going to reproduce itself. And so I'm going to come on to cold approach in a moment. We're going to be the salvation of civilization. These small cold approach channels, we are slowly going to turn the tide. But it's so on a numerical level, those things are massive. Obviously, we can't have anything to do with that. But there is another way. There is another path to re-stimulate the growth in the population, and it basically has to be based on female desire. It has to be based on female desire. If a woman wants you enough, she will want to bear your scion in a way that is just frenzied and reckless. Even if she previously might have been, I want to wait till the economy is better and so on. If a woman wants you enough on a basic instinctual level, they have their instinct, right? We have our instinct to inseminate. They have their instinct to be inseminated by a guy. Not just any guy, the guy that they want to bear his child. If we can whip them into enough excitement and enough of a frenzy through our male machismo and our male, or just the way that we relate to them, our confidence with Jay's biceps, if we can whip them into a frenzy, they will actually throw all caution to the wind, and they will go for it anyway. They'll go for it anyway. A lot of women are pressured into abortions by men. This is so I don't lay the blame on an individual level. I actually would say that is mostly what happens. It's mostly men forcing the woman to have the abortion, or pressuring her. Not forcing her, obviously, but pressuring her The woman doesn't feel that she's got options. This is obviously a terrible experience for the women who go through it, and there's so many millennial women who've told me about this procedure that they've had, and of course they regret it. It goes against their natural instincts, but they also look at it and go, if I have this child, my life is basically fucked. Especially if they're smart, intelligent, they're actually studying, they're moving forward in it, not studying bullshit, but actually studying stuff. They want to have some kind of a career, which is normal. And having a child at like 21, 22, whilst that will be good for the population numbers, it is understandable why they don't do it. So, yeah, and a lot of the time it's guys pushing this. So guys are not innocent in this at all. And I would say that's the majority. I'd say that's the majority. This is never addressed at a cultural level. I've never seen anyone address this at a cultural level, anyone, anywhere. Jordan Peterson touched upon it. All he said was, we don't even know what the effects of the pill have been on Western society. We do know what the effects have been, actually. He was just being tentative there. So yeah, and what's the way forward? What's the way out of it? Let's assume that we would like to stimulate the population. Elon Musk is going on about it. Elon, if you're tuning into this live, mate, you give me $30 million, I can sort this situation out. I've got a multi-pronged attack for this situation. Yeah, it's going to be educational for men. It is also we're also gonna set up some some colonies to get people in the mood for it. We'll do that in the tropics. We'll get some Caribbean islands going on. We'll invite young people out, and we'll get them on the salsa, get them on the bachata, and yeah, we will set up this. What did they call it? It's like it's a breeding colony, for want of a better phrase. My God. But yeah, it's something that can be sorted, and on a baseline level, the main way it will be sorted is if women are put into a kind of frenzied desire for men, or for certain men that they like, and at that point their instincts just kick in. I've even spoke to older women who said, yeah, it's weird when I'm seeing a guy for a while, and this is like 50-year-old women, they're like, I really want to have his baby, just an instinct. God, what the fuck is going on here, dude? Thank you for the compliment, Carl Oakley, but I'm a bit suspicious of your intentions, mate. So yeah, women have got to be driven to it. They've got to want to have the guy. And so how are we going to stimulate this? One of the factors is certainly revivifying men, revivifying their self-esteem, their self-confidence, literally making them more attractive in the real world. And cold approach and social confidence is one of the main ways that you can bridge that gap. It's really an incredible way. Just doing cold approach alone, it will put you in a higher echelon, a higher bracket. I think there's too much of this looks maxing stuff online, and obviously with the apps, guys have become quite passive. They're expecting just their male maybe looks and style. They're expecting that to do all the work. That's really only the case for an extremely minimal fraction of men, less than 1%, 0.5% of men. This is what I've observed over the years. There's a very small fraction of guys, one in a few hundred, who they walk into place and literally girls will actually throw themselves at them. That actually does happen, but it's just very rare. And usually they're not the hottest girls anyway. They're usually not. They're usually like the sevens who just like, they'll throw caution to the wind for whatever this guy is. This guy's just got his animal magnetism. Now, but realistically, that's not a solution for most men. A much better solution, work on yourself, work on the looks, work on the style, the presentation, all of that. I mean, your wardrobe, you can get sorted out in a month. Just take a few shopping trips, whatever. Look at stylish guys. If you're not getting some compliments on your dress, you know, by women, there's probably room for improvement. Your physical shape, that could take longer, but let's say you're in all right physical shape. There's nothing wrong with you. You don't have to be a fitness freak at all, at all. If you're just in all right shape, not morbidly obese, with cold approach, you can do wonders. And then it's about your male confidence, your male machismo. Oh yes, Jay, we've got some stats coming in. But yeah, then it's about your male confidence, your male machismo. And when I say machismo, I'm not saying being like a, I don't know, some macho member of the Taliban or something. I'm saying just going over boldly with confidence to the woman, introducing yourself, paying her an old school compliment on her dress or how she looks, and just engaging in a conversation with her, moving it forward, taking a number, potentially setting up a date there and then. I talked on the live yesterday about this. It sounds easy, but it can be difficult for men to do that because there's a lot of internal resistance. You feel like you're throwing yourself on the fire, throwing yourself out, you're sacrificing your own dignity. But once you get used to doing it, you realize actually this is completely normal. This is the dignified way to do it. And if the girl says no, I'm doing a video on rejection tomorrow, but if the girl says no, it's no big deal, really. It's no big deal. It might sting you a little bit in the moment, especially if you do get some unfortunate rejections, um, and they can sting for sure. I've definitely had my fair share of those. But what you normally find is within a minute or two, you feel better. That's if you can just hold on to that within a minute or two, not only do you feel you don't care about the rejection, you normally feel like on a bigger high than you did before you went in for that approach, just because you did it. So something in your DNA is unlocked there. And and then what you'll find is if you let's say you've gone out, you've done X number of approaches, and however long it takes you to start to get a success, in many cases it's not very long at all. If you're well presented, women are actually wanting this, they're actually looking for it, right? And then pretty much from there, all you've got to do is just go on the dates, just keep things, just basically again continue to push things along on the dates. And once you start sleeping with the girl, if you've got some level of, you understand, you've read 50 Shades of Grey, right? Go read that book. You apply some of those tactics, the girl's gonna fall for you most likely, or some of these girls are gonna fall for you. They're gonna go into a frenzy because it's like, wow, this guy is fantastic. Like he came over to me, he's so confident, or even if he's not confident, he's so fucking brave. Yeah. Girls are very sensitive to that as well. I've definitely been with girls where they were like on a date with me or even on an approach where they've said, yeah, I could see you were quite shy in that interaction or you were sort of quite nervous, but you still had a lot of balls to do it. Um, so even if you feel shy and nervous, just the fact of doing it is still actually they're still sensitive to that. Yeah. Um, Ideally, as time goes on, that reduces down to a minimal level. But I don't know, even for me at times, there's definitely times where I do approaches, I definitely feel something. There's other, um, if I didn't feel anything, I don't know if I would still do it. I don't know. But there's other times I do feel like very, very chill. It honestly does. A lot of that depends on the scenario around you. If it's a girl on a park bench, I'll just eat that any day of the week. I won't feel anything. If it's a three set in the middle of a busy mall, in a city like Santiago, I don't know anybody. It's a conservative city. I'm out on a limb on my own. Sure, in full confession, no, I've done a full set, but I've not done too many sets like that here because yeah, it's just like wow, this is a bit much. So, but my point anyway is that the girls still respect you for going over. They do. I've never had a girl really that was worth something, even in like a social circle, disrespect me for like afterwards. If I make a play for her, she doesn't go for it. Honestly, most of the time they do respect you afterwards because they're like, he went for what he wanted, you know. It's up to her to make her decision. Um, let's have a look here. So we've got, oh mate, oh Jay, this This is why I've got to do it. So Germany raised it. Indeed, indeed it did. Indeed it did. Yes, there aren't many examples of this succeeding. Um, he was opposed to the Soviet model, and yeah, the Kinderkirschkusch. I don't want to get my channel. Fucking hell. Um, Apparently, it's what's the this whatever software has changed that is looking at YouTube now, the algorithm. So it's quite easy to get your videos blocked or your channel blocked. But yes, that's a good point. That's a good point. I have some other notes on here. I'm going to go back into that in a minute, actually. So let me just read these comments. Here. Serbian girls comment on the bravery of the approach at least 3 times. It definitely unlocks something. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, because even like someone would look at you, Jay, and be like, so Jay is a student who worked with me, and we did his immersion over in Serbia, and someone would look at him and go, well, he's in his 30s, looks absolutely great, in really good shape, like way like crazy shape, and well dressed, the whole thing going on. And someone look at him and go, well, surely he just have no issues picking up girls at all. Surely not. But the reality is, in the modern world, you're kind of snookered. A lot of guys are kind of snookered because apps don't favor you over the age of 30, especially with women in their 20s. So that could be a struggle. You might have to lie about your age on your profile, but that's not optimal anyway. The club scene is variable now. A lot of guys, as they get into their 30s, a lot of times your mates have married off or whatever, and you're kind of left scratching your head about how should I actually approach this? Maybe hear of this thing, cold approach, daytime approach, see a few videos, and think, okay, that looks doable. I think I could do that. But then the question becomes, how the fuck am I actually supposed to do? What am I actually supposed to do? That's why at 37, even though I'd had really a lot of experience, I'd even done daytime approach as well out here in Dominican in an informal way. I'd go out and do one approach, like on a Saturday or a Sunday. That would be I'd do like 3 a week. But when I got back into Europe, I was like, nah, it's not that sunny tropical vibe. How am I actually going to pull this off? So I got trained and then joined a group of mavericks who were all into this. So we've actually got what I've described as a peer-reviewed system for this. So there's just like clinical things that I can show guys that just get them into the approach. And then after that, then it's kind of just like their personality and their self as a man will just shine through. And yeah, the women love it. The women love it. A decent, even if they don't take you up because they've got a boyfriend, it's nice for them to get an approach. It's definitely nice for them to get an approach. Yeah, they need a witness to their beauty. They need validation for their beauty. They're putting all this effort in. They don't get much validation for it, Yeah, 1.9 to 3.7. So yeah, so you can actually turn these women. Jay's had it already. These girls it's such a memorable experience for them. The Balkans is a really strange territory because the guys are actually, I think the guys are like almost like sleeping giants in this, like in all those countries. I think they could be really good. But it's a very reserved culture. I think the guys are very proud and they almost don't want to they don't want to risk the rejection as much. And so there's also a culture where there is a lot of social circle, where you're from, who you're with. There is quite a bit of that in Serbia as well. So if you're a guy who she's moderately attracted to and you're outside of her area, her zone of who she knows, there's probably a decent chance it just might not be enough to get it over the line. She might give you a number, but may or may not meet up. If she's really attracted to you and the approach is really bold and the chemistry is there, it will all go forward anyway. It will all go forward anyway. But I think Serbia is definitely a place where you would do overall. A really good approach there would be setting up a bit of a social scene, even going to the similar cafes most days. You see the same people, and then if you can get some connections there, and then do cold approach as well. You just have your pick, But yeah, the bold approach. There's something about that. It's for women. It's like this guy just came out of nowhere, you know. And especially girls who are like, they used to, it's maybe even a fantasy for them, to be honest with you. This guy just came out of nowhere, this attractive guy. And the approach itself does make you attractive. And this is something I've seen with a lot of students where there's one student I worked with, he said girls had never approached him, so he felt he wasn't attractive. And this is just untrue. You know, most attractive guys are not getting approached. That's just not true. Like girls are not actually going out actively approaching men. The biological probably reasons for that, you know, like all sorts. They have less testosterone, their body temperature is 2 degrees less. You know, we are the chasers, we are the hunters, right? It's got a little bit warped that's not seen as normal, but it's just the truth. And so even good-looking men are not going to be. If I compare how many times I've been approached compared to how many times my sister has been approached, we have the same genetic code, right? We're born from the same parents. I mean, a few places in the Dominican, if I go for a run, I might get some old grandma like shouting something at me. Occasionally get maybe some, because there's not many guys who look like me, especially in the capital. I might get a few wolf whistles now and then from like a group of fucking schoolgirls or something. That's about as good as it's ever been. That's about as good as it's got. Anywhere else, I'm not getting approached at all. My sister, on the other hand, she's constantly been approached since she was probably 15, 14 years old. Yeah, practically every day of her life. Or like a lot anyway, you know, like thousands of men have probably approached her, right? And in my case, I've been the one doing the approaching. So it's how it is, right? It's how it is. I remember having this, I can't remember, some funny discussion I had with my mom. I can't remember, it was a group, we were in a group, and I can't remember. And I can't remember what she said. She was moaning about some guy saying, like, chatting up the girls. And I said, yeah, but Ma, have you ever approached a man? And she goes, goodness, no, you know, I would never approach a man. And I was like, exactly, well, someone's got to do it. So it is on us. And so if you're a guy who's never been approached, that does not mean you're not attractive at all. At all. There's no correlation. The approach itself, that's where you deliver your quality. I do think as time goes on, developing a social scene as well is really good for guys. You kind of get that brute confidence from the streets. And if you're then able to transfer that over into a social scene, you will be a king amongst men. You'll be a king amongst men. It'll be so easy because you see guys in parties, and I've even been there myself. It's more intimate maybe, and you kind of hesitate a little bit to go and speak to the girl who's really attractive. But once you've done 100 or so cold approaches, like in daytime approach in the middle of the street, you'll go over in parties, like it's just like nothing, it's just like absolutely nothing, just like picking up a glass of water. So, yeah, I do recommend for guys, if they're going to stay in approach for a long time, I do recommend, or like for a couple of years or a year or two, I do also recommend developing the social circle. There's a guy in our group. He's just left the group because he's basically now focusing everything on his social circle. But he went from zero to hero in daytime approach. Absolutely, Richie. He absolutely smashed daytime approach to pieces in multiple countries as well. But now it's started to go down the social circle route, and he's just using all of those skills that confidence and that no fucks given that he's developed in his approach. Now he's using it in his social circle. So let's get back. Let's get back to. I've got some notes here about this. So yeah, let's just get back for maybe just for 10, 20 minutes to the question of yes, the declining birth rates. What are we going to do? How are we going to resolve it? So I've suggested there men becoming more bold, risky action takers. This is something that the more guys who get into approach, the more guys who start channels. I don't see it as competition. I see it as fantastic. The more guys who get it, obviously you have to be good. I don't want guys who can't do it to start channels and stuff, but the more guys who start to spread this, the better. One of my good friends, he just from seeing me do daytime approach, he started to do it a little bit, and he's now living with a girl that he met in daytime approach. He's never had a class, he's never done, and he's still not very good, to be honest. He's still not very good, but he just had a crack a couple of times. He's got a certain market, how shall we say? He's got a bit of the yellow fever. He's got a certain market that he goes for, and um, he's basically irresistible to them, to be honest with you. So all he pretty much has to do is show up. And yeah, he did a few approaches, and he actually met a girl he really clicked with early on. And to me, this is just brilliant. Like, spreading the word, and guys just seeing from the example. If you actually want to get good, you do need to need to put a bit more into it. Yeah, let me talk about this. So we also have this thing in the past where we have so the issue with the birth rate, right? It's actually worse than people think. The raw number is very troubling. There's an even worse statistic, which is why, yeah, I want to do my part through cold approach to help this statistic. The raw number is one thing, but that alone only tells half the story. The other side of it is who is reproducing, who is reproducing, and when you control for all of the things we want in men and women, like intelligence, conscientiousness, income level, healthy BMI, no mental illness, no mental illness. I think IQ's in there as well. Education levels. When you control for all of that, the people with the highest, most desirable scores on all of those things are reproducing the least. And what's interesting as well, this is a really interesting one, is even height. If we see height as something that like men and women think is good, even tall people they're actually reproducing less, which is kind of interesting as well. I thought that was interesting one. Tall women, a tall, educated woman, basically is not going to reproduce. Tall, intelligent, educated woman, she's probably most likely in our generation just not even going to have any children. So this is the other thing, is you have all of these qualities are on a distribution, right? And what we actually have, there is a word for it. I'll use the word. Do I want to use the word? No, I don't want to use the exact word. We have a degradation in the genetics of the populace, their natural qualities. There is actually degradation happening there, where the people with the lowest levels of intelligence, the lowest levels of conscientiousness, the highest, most unhealthy BMIs, they're reproducing by far the most, by far. They're actually in some areas, like in the UK, for example, they're actually substantially above replacement rates. Then you've got the social questions as well. Those people are getting supported financially more, which is insane, right? Yeah, I've got to use the word. It's dysgenic. It's dysgenic. The word is dysgenic, and that means where you have something happening in the population which is fundamentally at a biological level is unhealthy, and that group is proliferating more. This is actually a real problem. This is a real problem. So yeah, we've now created like a dysgenic bottleneck in society, which is fucked. And it's through multiple things, abortion, the pill, now also subsidizing or basically penalizing good, responsible people and subsidizing those who are less so. This is a terrifying trend, right? So those things need to be addressed like majorly. What I'm really interested in, my mission is to increase is to get the good quality guys, get them into positions where, yeah, they'll fuck around for a little bit, but they'll eventually have children. Get them into positions where it's a desirable option for them, and they can get the woman that they want with the qualities that they want when she's a good age as well, when she's in her 20s, not like when she's 39, where you're probably going to struggle to conceive. So this is my mission, right? So I'm basically like, I want to get my gang of cold approaching studs together, right? And then they go out and they reproduce. I get 50 guys, they produce 150 strong offspring. There we go. The job has been done. And this project is not this project. I'm doing it like I'm joking about it, but it's kind of true. This has been practiced in many societies over the years. The Romans did it. The Greeks did it. When they had wars, when their populations got decimated, male population got decimated, they actually would yeah, they would have like natalist policies. They would actually do like basically stud farming, where they would get like the returning soldiers, they would actually allow them to have children with women out of wedlock, even if they were citizens and stuff. They would actually permit it because they knew we need to keep this strong, intelligent, brave bloodline going as well. And actually, bravery was one of them that was, I think bravery is a very underrated thing. All the things I listed, IQ and stuff, I kind of think they're semi-important, but I actually think bravery is the most important one. If you don't have bravery, all the rest of the stuff is not really going to be that useful. You need mental fortitude. Um, Even now, even in modernity, but in those days, you really needed it. Um, And so, yeah, the Romans, the Greeks did it. The Amish do it in the USA because they need to keep their genetic pool healthy. They take outsiders in. Um, yeah, in parts of East Asia do it as well, or parts of the Middle East do it as well. I think even maybe the Taliban do it. I've heard stuff around that region that they actually do things like this when there's like obviously there's lots of soldiers who are dying or young men who die. The ones that come back, they can obviously take more wives. And like the strong soldiers, they want them to reproduce more, right? Um, yeah, and then you got things like yeah, so this can be done in a very natural way, and many societies have done this. Many societies have done this. Um, Israel being the only country that's above replacement rates in which abortion is legal. They're high. They're about 3.1, and they have pronatalist policies. They have a pronatalist culture. They date seriously from a young age. Obviously, they have this kind of they have a state that is under kind of perpetual siege and a perpetual war. Whatever people, I don't want to go down that route of talking about current events, but they are under constant threat as well. So there's possibly an instinctive thing that comes through the people there as well. But even they have there is a culture in Judaism of taking exceptional outsiders into essentially into the bloodline. It's a matrilineal group. The convention is you really would only be considered Jewish if your mother was. So that means that you have a kind of strong, you kind of have it's not a religion that's going to grow very large or wide because women can only have so many children as opposed to men. Other religions, they can go off and they can proselytize, have loads of children, and it grows in that way. But you do ensure like a level of coherence in that with that strategy. But even they will still take outsiders, like exceptional men from the outside, as like it's kind of socially approved, basically. But then the child will go into the religion and become Jewish, or whatever. But it is matrilineal. There's a few things in Africa like that as well. There's a few sort of matrilineal things in Africa as well. There's all sorts out in the world. Um, yeah, and so mate selection. There's those cultural things, but um, you could, if Elon would give me 30 mil, I could set up, I could set up, I could set up some stuff. We could get people out to the Caribbean. We'll get them out, get the rum going on, get the salsa going on. I'm sure that loads of them they'll pair off and we'll get this absolute flourishing, right? We'll send them back to Europe and America and we'll have all of these bright young people having their children and regenerating the population. If you want to have a special forces, you want to have you want to have a real program going on. We can take one of those islands off the coast of Panama. Give me maybe 100 guys. Yeah, we'll get a little operation going on there, and we could produce no, maybe a few thousand special forces operatives that will then be used go back into mainland USA. Uh, yeah, there's we could use CRISPR. I don't know. I prefer to do it the natural way. But yeah, that's not dissimilar to what the Romans and Greeks did. What I've just outlined it there. If if Elon ever catches this live, man, he should think about doing this. He's got the resources to do it because it's not just about the raw numbers, as I say. The raw numbers are one thing, but if heritable characteristics, if we've created a civilization in which the stuff we actually want is being bred out and the stuff which we don't want so much of is increasing, that's a real fucking problem. So we need a counteractive breeding program, which I will head off the coast of Panama. We'll buy an island as they could go for about $5 million off the coast of Panama. We will have a selection criteria, and yes, we will repopulate our countries with this new Praetorian Guard, this new Greco-Roman elite, which will be my my life project, my spawn. Uh, yeah, he does. He does. Yeah, one outsider. So something strange has happened with mating. Is definitely true values and intelligence don't have as much pass in modern society. Yeah. What I will say, I definitely agree with you. Um, I do think though women themselves will always. I think women themselves are like this. Women are not against us on this front. They're not actually. They still want the guys with the values. They still want the guys who are intelligent. You have to have some a little bit about you though. This is why cold approach is so good because you don't want to be the intelligent like guy who's just a bit too nice. That is probably not going to work in your favor. I think there's biological reasons for that. But by going over doing some cold approach, right, you're kind of showing yourself as a bit of a risk taker, as a bit of a bad boy. Even if everything else, they kind of their ideal is like a bad boy. He's a bit of a bad boy, but he's also like a caring guy, and he's got intelligence. He's got the look and stuff. That is like their ideal fantasy, right? But you have to have some of that bad boy edge as well. You have to have some of that edge. And I think cold approach it shows that and it also develops it as well. And that's kind of what yeah, it's part of what I want to do on this channel over time as well as help with stuff that's not just it's not just on the approach, the stuff down the line as well. Like guys have to sometimes they have to sort of kind of put this like put the woman in a submissive position. Um, just sometimes just cut her off at the knees a little bit. Just say no, that's absolute nonsense. X, Y, Z, and they need it. They need it. If they, it's like it because it kind of shows. Okay, this man has got boundaries. On an instinctive level, that means that forget modernity. On an instinct level, that means that her and her offspring are going to be protected. Because if you're strong enough to put her in her place, which you have to do sometimes, then that's actually going to be favorable for her and her offspring. So many girls like have said to me like, remember one girl, this is when I first started with cold approach, man. Her name was Eve, man. Her name was Eve. I should have fucking disseminated her. It was so early on in my process. I approached her before I did my immersion. I just did my immersion. Dude, this girl had the biggest tits I have ever seen on a human female. I'm not, they just, I still weep myself to sleep over the fact I left this girl. Honestly, each tit was about 3 times the size of my head. I'm not even fucking joking. It was an obscenity. And she had a nice, what was I doing? She had a nice face as well. She was about my height. So a girl who's like got tits that big, they're going to be a slightly bigger frame. But she wasn't really fat. Like she had a wider waist and stuff on like thick legs, but she wasn't really fat to be honest. She was pretty athletic actually. Oh my God, Eve. Oh, Jesus Christ. She was 21. Fuck me. I approached her in the Peace Gardens in Sheffield, and I was shitting myself because I just saw her and I was like, I must have stared at her for about 10 minutes. I was like, she is so hot. It's fucking insane. I'm like drooling at this girl. And I still didn't know much about approach. I was still relatively inexperienced, but I knew enough, like I could do a structured approach. I knew enough of the basics, and it was a prime opportunity. She sat down. So eventually I woke up the courage and I go over to her, approach her, chit chat. And I looked quite good that day. I had like my good clothes on and stuff. So like, it was a good approach. And it was great chemistry. She loved it. This girl fucking loved the approach. Um, And then even in the approach, because sometimes I was like, you're actually so hot, you're putting me on edge. So like just being truthful about your attraction is really powerful. And yeah, ended up going out with her for like maybe a month or something. And there were a couple of times she was a little bit spoiled, this girl. She'd been definitely spoiled by her dad. And there were a couple of times I was like, right, first of all, don't talk to me like that. And second of all, I'm busy. I'll speak to you when I'm like when I need to speak to you. And then she would like pause, and then she would just go, I just got really turned on. So like literally like she was, she just needed putting in her place a little bit. I think maybe my thinking at the time was this is she's a little bit too spoiled, and it's a little bit too much like hard work, and I've only just started my cold approach journey. I'm leaving to Brazil in a few weeks, so I sacked it off. But that was just a good example. An extremely hot girl. As soon as I put her in a place, not only was it good in general, she actually got turned on. Yeah, this is really common. I think Jay, I think you mentioned this with one of your exes. She got turned on or something when you were like reading the riot act to somebody at work or something. They do need that, right? They do need that, especially with the guy that they're with, they're having sex with. They really need that. Um, Elon's got a massive interest in birth rate. Yeah, what plans has he got? You can tell someone really fucked him up to make him this weird about women. I'm not weird about women, dude. Why am I weird about women? I'll just get this guy out. But no, they do need to be put in their place. It's just biological. Girls like I'm not fucked up. It's hilarious. If you knew what I'm actually dealing with, if you and like how lovely the girls I deal with are, how nice I am to them, how much fun I have with them, and I'm not living a massive playboy lifestyle at all these days, at all. I only did for about 4 years. Now it's pretty slow and pretty chill. I still do the approach. Got probably a date set up this weekend actually, and there's one in the capital as well. But anyway, people I think have resistance to really understanding male and female nature. They think men and women are the same. It's just not true, and people can get really up in arms about it because they're invested on women and men are the same. They're not the same, dude. They're not the same. And also, any society that doesn't recognize this ultimately is going to be doomed as well. Um, so other stuff here, there's CRISPR, there's the genetic engineering stuff. That could actually be good. That could be good. If I could genetically engineer, if I could ensure that my child had no physical issues, then I would definitely do that. And if CRISPR would assist that process, then I think it's a very good thing. Because obviously people are afraid. Does that mean the richest people are going to just have all the super babies? That's a fear, obviously. Um, and the one thing I was thinking as well on this front, I do think women are on our side because fundamentally their biology, they get turned on by, these aspects of men. They like other things as well, but the more go-getting, the more attractive guys, the more intelligent guys, they actually like that. Okay, it's in their DNA to respond to that, even if sometimes in the economy it almost doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't seem to always work out, but definitely women organically they like it. And actually, this is why I in some cases I actually think women cheating is actually a good thing. I actually think it is in a strange way because it depends how pathological it is. If she's just getting banged like every weekend, like but in a strange way, I actually think it might be a good thing because what that normally does for guys is it normally gets guys to have a they do a self-assessment, especially when they're younger, or what is the scenario going on? Am I missing something here? A lot of guys get cheated on when they're young and stuff, or actually even when they're older, and they have to go, am I missing something here? And it can just be the woman's like bad character or just being stupid, but sometimes it is worth that self-assessment. I definitely had it when I was younger. I was like, this girl's basically totally sacked me off, and I'm like, okay. I didn't take it as a negative. I just like, whatever, this is law of the jungle. What do I need to do from here? How do I move forward? And some of these couples as well that you see now, where the guy's like a true beta male as well. They've obviously met through their social circle, and it's the girls it's very safe, and it's like I do wonder, are they going to be very productive? Are they going to be a fruitful marriage if they get married? Where the guy almost seems to be in the passive womanly role. Fucking strange, dude. Seeing that a little bit in Western Europe. Um, so yeah, I mean, my solution is drive the girls crazy, get yourself over into the approaches, and yeah, read Fifty Shades of Grey, and then just do everything that you're supposed to do anyway, just to be a healthy guy moving forward in life. And this if 1,000 guys start this, I guarantee that will produce 2,000 children. 1,000 guys, probably 3,000 children. They don't even all have to reproduce. Probably only 500, 600 of them. They just have their little minions, coming through. Yeah, related to Elon, I'll just start to wind it down now. But yeah, related to Elon, I think some of the stuff I would like to see him take. He's obviously an incredibly busy guy, but I think if he wants to put me as the head of his reproductive program, this is obviously it's an area that I'm interested in, both like on its most local level, at the level of men and women interacting, face-to-face interaction, developing men. I do think I think women need to be developed as well, but that will only be done by men, especially in the USA. Those guys, yeah, need to start being a lot more assertive with women. That whole culture does. Otherwise, that place is lost. More so than any other country. More so than any other country. Those women are just, a lot of them are totally undateable. Never mind unmarriable, totally undateable. I still hold a lot of hope for Europe. I think there's loads of great women in Europe. I still think that there's still a lot of them all over Europe, even in the UK. I still think there's loads of great women. So yeah, Elon, if you're watching, you can put me as your head of this program. We'll need one or two islands, maybe a couple in the Caribbean, one off the coast of Panama. We'll put that one underground. That'll be a Black Ops. The one off the coast of Panama. We'll we'll get some absolute mutants coming out of there. But yeah, just from a local level, but all the way up to a civilizational level, and how this all fits together, and also how frankly it impacts on migration as well. If you don't have enough of a population, then you literally have to take migrants to keep the way the system works. There is no other option. So it's a strange thing. People don't make the connection between abortion and migration, but there's a one-to-one correlation, basically. UK has imported 11 million migrants net legally over the last 50 years, and it's aborted 10.5 million children. So actually, if you just illegalize that one thing, or if it had been illegal for the last X 50 years, then we actually wouldn't have had to take even any migrants. You could still take some if you wanted to, but it wouldn't be necessary at all, because those children, those 10.5 million, they would also have their own children as well. So your population growth would be completely chill. You'd be well above replacement rates. As things stand though now, we need to get the girls whipped into a frenzy where they throw caution to the wind. Probably some economic stuff as well. It needs to be incentivized for the right people, not just for the people who probably don't want to be having so many children. You need to incentivize it for the right people. That's obviously way beyond. There's nothing I can help with. Yeah, we need some politicos to get involved in that. I don't think they would in the UK. I think the UK is a bit too cowardly for anyone to even start to raise this stuff. Hopefully these Gen Z little beasts coming through, hopefully they do. Elon would, Trump would, definitely. Yeah, yeah. Arrived the Anglo-Saxon in 500. Yeah. It's a joke, man. It's a joke. It's a joke. Um, I don't even know what to say about the UK, my friend. I'm glad you had your experience over in Serbia. It's really cool you had that experience. It's the Balkans is essentially what the UK probably was comparable to 50 years ago. It's probably similar to that. Um, yeah. those countries, Macedonia, Serbia, they still have some issues with the birth rate. So they need Vukic, give me a call. I can boost your birth rate, mate. I can do it. Trust me. Serbian guys, if we can get them into approach, they will become unstoppable, dude. Balkanoids, if they get into it, they would just be unstoppable. They would just be like they would be outbreeding everybody, 100%. Yeah, no worries, mate. I'm winding this up anyway, but yeah, take it easy, bruv. And yeah, I'll catch you whenever I catch you. I'm gonna be doing these lives. I'm going to be doing them every day. Hopefully, around the same time, but I may vary the time. So yeah, well, I'll leave things there. I think that was everything I wanted to talk about there. Yep, Zhao Jinping, whatever his name is, the Chinese guy, um, Vucic, Trump, Elon. I am available. You can consult with me on this. Driving the women into a frenzy of reproduction. We can work on that. 30 million is also going to cost you, and I will be, I will be the new commissar of natalism in the Western world. We'll leave it on that, boys. If you're new to the channel, I'm Joseph Wingbro. On this channel, I discuss all things daytime approach, relationship related. Today, we did a little bit of a cultural excursion onto birth rate because it's something I found really interesting and I wanted to just talk about in terms of interest's sake. Tomorrow, I will come back in and I'm going to talk about some more baseline stuff. I think I'm going to talk about fear of approach tomorrow. Guys who feel the fear, feel afraid of going over to women. I think this is a massive thing and it needs to be discussed. I'll give a few tips as well on how you can get over that. So peace and love, my bratva, my brothers, and I'll catch you in the next one.